Hello, Philadelphia! I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show!
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday to all across the Delaware Valley. It is the Anthony Gargano Show presented by the Bet Park Sportsbook app. Make sure you download and have some fun today, especially with playoff season upon us. And that's what I want to talk about to begin with. We're going to have a fun show. We'll get into a lot of NFL today, a lot of draft talk. Bo Wolf from our All Eagles PHLY show will join us, as well as Baldi. And we'll get into a lot of NFL draft stuff. But it is the eve of a big game. And I feel the patter of the butterflies. There's something about that big game. And it's why the playoffs are incredible, right? Like the NBA playoffs is just a different season. We talk about it the same way in baseball. It's the closest thing. It's football, right? Like, because the games now matter. And tomorrow night takes on a bigger singular meaning because you can't lose tomorrow night. The Sixers have to beat Miami tomorrow night to avoid Boston. That's what's at stake. Let's face it. The Celtics are really, really good. We know they've had a great season, historic season. And then you start to think, what's the best time to face them? And to me, it's clearly the Eastern Conference Finals. If you could push them off until the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, it's just that much easier and that much better for you because you'll have wear and tear. The last thing you want is a fresh matchup. You got to get Joel going, right? You got to let them go out and play games. And you hope there's some wear and tear on Boston, and then you take your shot at them in the Eastern Conference Finals. So tomorrow night's game against Miami is just significant. And it got me to think about these runs and the runs of the past. And it's unbelievable that this will be the seventh shot that the post-process Sixers have. The seventh. It's incredible when you think about when it all started. And it started 2017, 2018. Let me go through the history with you for a second. And that, of course, was the early Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid team. Joe missed the first couple games with Orlando. That was the Euro team. And remember, that was when we loved Simmons and we saw them arcing. And this was the first time they were in the playoffs since that Iguodala team. Then they fared well. I mean, they lost to Boston in 5, but they were in every game. They had a couple games they could have, they almost stole. It was a real fun year. And then, of course, the next year was the run, and that was Jimmy Butler. And that was the great run that they make, only to be done by Kawhi Leonard's quadruple doink. And I thought that was the year, right? We thought that was going to happen. The quadruple doink, doing, and it goes in. No, Jimmy! That was our year. And then, of course, what happens in the offseason that year, Jimmy skedaddles. There's all kinds of talk of revolt. Tobias gets the max contract. Back then, his agent, his father, saw an opportunity. When things went awry with Jimmy Butler, they held up the Sixers and got the max contract for Tobias Harris. So much so that this is the year that it finally comes off the books. Think about that for a second when it comes to perspective. They lose. That was a second-round loss. Remember, it was a wide-open season. Toronto goes on to win the title. Golden State suffers all those injuries. That was heartache. Then, of course, the pandemic hits, and we go to the bubble, and it was a wasted year. Injuries. They lose to Boston, get swept in the bubble, and you go, all right, whatever. Then you're at it again. And remember the bubble year, the championship started, it took place in the end of August. And then you start right up again with another iteration. And this iteration, oh my, was with Doc Rivers. And so Doc comes in, and of course, it was that fateful Father's Day when Ben Simmons passes up the dunk. How in the world would they lose at home? After beating the Hawks on a Friday night or on a Thursday night, they come back home. Friday night. They come back, and the game was a 6 o'clock start on Father's Day. And I remember going, all right, well, here we go. They're going to win that game. Now let's see. But no. Trae Young goes wild. It's amazing. You look at Atlanta now. They're a playing team. They're horrible. Trae Young goes wild. Ben passes up the dunk. And then that whole thing goes sideways. Oh, my. Then that offseason, 3 days after Simmons passes up the dunk, he says he wants out of Philadelphia. And the saga lasted. And it lasted through training camp, through him getting kicked out of practice with the cell phone in his sweats. And it just goes on and on and on until relief came, that trade deadline, and the Sixers are able to move Ben Simmons for James Harden. And you go, all right, we celebrated beard. The beard comes in. And that was, look, a blessing in the sense you got rid of Simmons, who at that point was worthless. And you bring in Harden, who undeniably a great player, a Hall of Fame talent. But he came with his own set of warts. And those warts, well, they showed themselves in the playoffs that year, again in the second round against Miami. He had 2 good games and then some not so good games. Joel gets hurt with the elbow from Siakam. He comes back. They tie the series 2-2 and then lose the next 2. Both Harden and Joel quitting at the end of Game 6 in Miami. Miami, the same Heat team that they're going to play tomorrow night. And, of course, then there was last year, and we all remember how it ended. Game 6 against Boston was the game that they should have won. Melton missed a lot of open shots, but in reality, it was back to Harden. And Harden just, again, could not deliver when it came, when clutch time came, when money time came, when championship level play came. Harden failed the test yet again. And so there they were, giving up in Game 7. And now they're back with a new coach. And now Tyrese Maxey as Joel's co-star. And we're back to feeling the same way. I feel great about them. I look at it going in tomorrow night, and I'm nervous, but I feel great. I feel like this is possibly, when we least expect it, the time where they're going to make a run. And we'll see tomorrow night, but they got to win. And it's Miami. And it's Jimmy. And Jimmy, let's face it, is Philadelphia's boogeyman. We all have a pang of fear when it comes to Jimmy. And Spoelstra and Pat Riley upstairs and the Miami Heat. look, again, it was just 2 years ago when they beat the Sixers. But, man, I think about Philadelphia's monsters that we've had to slay. And I listened to Jimmy Butler yesterday, and I listened to Eric Spoelstra yesterday, and both had that quiet, resolve, like that confidence. And it's a bit scary. But here we are on the eve of the playoffs, and that's all I can think about. Sixers Heat, one game to avoid the Celtics. Good morning, JP.
Buenos dias, cuz. Listen, what a way to open it. Reliving all those playoff losses.
Oh, my.
That's rough. But hey, I'm ready. I'm with you. I feel the same way. Like the vibe, we talked about, the vibes of the team are completely different. Maxi's another year older, and you've seen what Maxi's done throughout this regular season.
His aura. Like, we know he's a great player. You need a co-star, right? But it's his aura. Like, he's got good, positive aura.
That's it.
Ben, bad, right? Bad, sour, right?
That's
Harden, sour.
Yeah,
not Tyrese.
How do you not just get in a good mood just seeing Maxi with that smile and just that energy just radiates off of everybody.
Yeah.
But that's going to be big. But I think more importantly, cuz, is that the cast around Embiid, and let's throw Maxi in there too, I think is much better. It's probably the best it's been since that Jimmy year, because I feel like this team is deeper than it was before.
Well, and the other thing too is when we talk about this, Joel during the Jimmy run was not Embiid now.
Right. That's a good point.
He was immature.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that whole night, the video games, he's staying up late, right? Then he has the bad stomach. But that's the growth of a superstar.
Right.
That's what that is. That's maturity. And then you see once a guy is in his latter 20s is when he really starts to just kind of get it and put it together. And he has.
Yeah.
And that's why when people go, wow, he gets hurt or he's a lumper. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. He's developed a lockdown money shot at the end of games. Let's go.
You need, in this league, you definitely need those calluses. Like, look at the best of all time. Like, they've had to go through those playoff struggles in order to win those championships.
You go back to Jordan.
Yeah.
And you go back to the whole thing with Detroit and how they had to get past the Pistons. Like that, and it's been like that through every dynasty.
How long did it take LeBron to get his first championship?
Of course.
Like, it is super tough. But, like, you talk about the calluses, the losses that he's gone through in the playoffs. Having Arthur's definitely helped his maturity as well. But another key point too, cousin, that's a big part of why I feel good about tomorrow and the rest of this playoffs. Nicky Nurse, we got a coach too,
without a doubt. Like, we went through the process, and look, Brett was the steward to kind of get them to a certain level.
Right.
Doc was the guy that was supposed to come in and close, but interestingly, knowing him, he's just not a closer.
Yeah.
And while I'm eternally grateful for helping Maxi develop, and for helping Joel develop that lockdown, money shot, he was not a good game day coach, and that's where Nick Nurse comes into play.
Yeah.
And that's what gives me confidence. But I want to tackle something with all you guys, and Andrew, our producer, and VG, who later on we'll talk to in the clubhouse. But Philadelphia's boogeymen, who, like, off the top of my head, like, I think about teams. Tampa Bay.
Oh,
like Tampa Bay is a team of boogeymen. Like, they're Philadelphia scarers. Like, they torture us. Going back to Rondé Barber.
Oh my God.
To last year, right? And get embarrassed.
Lost to
in
Baker.
The playoffs. Yes.
It's not a good taste.
Right? And even Nick's first year.
Yeah.
Right? Even though that was house money and they're in the playoffs. But, I'll still remember, man, how they just went after Jaylen. And it was blitz, Todd Bowles, blitz, pressure.
I would have thought that, huh?
Right? So I want you guys to think about teams
I like this.
and athletes that scare the bejesus out of us. Because Jimmy and Spoelstra, they're kind of that guy. Those are those guys. That's for sure.
On a non-serious note, cuz tomorrow for me, on a personal note, is a must-win, because we talked about after the post production, So a little heads up for everyone out there. So on Friday, one of the biggest Latin artists is coming to the Wells Fargo Center to perform, Bad Bunny. So if the Sixers win tomorrow, then the concert stays on a Friday. And you've been to concerts. Like,
Right.
you don't want to go to a weekday concert. But if the Sixers lose tomorrow, the concert gets pushed back on a Thursday. So for all of us Latinos in Philadelphia, Sixers, can we get the win tomorrow, please? Obviously, the Sixers fan first, right? But for all of us here, can we just get the win tomorrow?
That's right. Listen, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. That's popping off with Olipop. Find your favorite Olipop flavor at your nearest Wawa. All right. So let's talk about last night, the day it was last night in sports. Flyers. Speaking of big games, tonight is an opportunity, and it's not terrible. While it's tough, it's not impossible. So the Flyers can get in with a win in regulation over the Capitals and a loss by Pittsburgh to the Islanders. So we need the Islanders, a team that we've had a long kind of feud with, all right, to take care of our arch nemesis. Speaking of, monsters and boogeymen, the Penguins. So that's the ultimate, right? The Penguins, one of our ultimate boogeymen.
Oh,
so
geez.
the Flyers, they can get in, win tonight over the Caps, and Islanders win over Pittsburgh, JP. You cover the Flyers.
Yeah, so we also...
And you got the sweater on today.
Yeah, so we also do need the Detroit Red Wings, who also did get a win yesterday. We need them to lose to Montreal, who had a back-to-back with Montreal, which is a rough way to end the season. But now, listen, obviously...
Yeah, the Montreal thing, you hope that when you play a team back-to-back, you hope that's where it comes into play.
Right. Especially a Montreal team that is still very young. Their season's kind of over, so they're trying to play spoiler for the Detroit Red Wings. But look, listen, forget about what the Red Wings and the Penguins are doing. You got to take care of your own business.
Yeah, you got to win
first
and
listen, foremost.
You whatever happens, and whether it's a 2010 miracle and you get in, you got to beat Washington. If you knowing that this is a big game to get in the playoffs, if you win tonight, it just gives you forward momentum for next season. Even if you're not in the playoffs, it shows you got mettle. It kind of pushes you to next season.
110%.
Especially for this team where playoffs are gravy.
Yeah. No, this tonight is big. And just like this tonight it's a playoff atmosphere. It's a playoff game. That's going to be great experience, especially for some of the young players. We were talking about it with Jonesy, your Bobby Brinks, your Tyson Forsters of this team. This is going to be extremely monumental for them. And of course, guys, if you have nothing to do, maybe watch it with Bill and I. We'll be on PHLY Flyers watch party tonight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll be
that's
hanging
cool.
out.
Very
We'll be
cool.
watching it here.
I love it. Also, last night, Phillies, Pache. All right, saves the day.
Diablo, Pache. I love it.
Yeah. But the big story to me, Nola.
Yeah, man.
7 1/3 innings, allows only a run, 4 hits, only 1 walk, 9 strikeouts for Nola. And it was interesting because we had talked to Brad yesterday, and Brad was like, I wonder if the under strikeouts because of his stuff, that he was kind of pitching more to contact. And he looked fantastic. And that to me is always why I loved the signing. I just thought the signing was a good signing because this is what he is. Like, we forget how well he goes in the stretches, and he just eats up innings. Last night, 7 1/3, right? Like, he's going to give you quality starts. He's going to eat innings up for you. He's a perfect, to me, complementary piece in the rotation, a mainstay in the rotation that you need over a long season to get into the playoffs.
No, I mean, last night was big because, listen, the velocity was there. Even that curveball was on last night.
He had great movement.
Oh, my God.
But he had great movement.
You know where I'm at with this, cuz. Like, I love Aaron Nola. I love regular season Aaron Nola. What do you do for me in the clutch? What do you do for me in the
I know,
NLCS?
everybody says that, but like, it's April. So leave it alone. All right? Leave it alone. It's April. Listen, you got to get to the play. He's a guy that will help you get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's not a ton. Look at rotations out there.
Mm-hmm.
We have this mindset. Sometimes we're too insular. Like Aaron Nola, there are a ton of teams that would love to have Aaron Nola.
This is true. This is true.
All right.
I mean, listen, he shows more of that, Aaron. It shows more of the velocity, shows more of that placement with that, especially with that curveball. He's on
like
with
you
that.
last year. He had a good season last year.
He did. But how did that game 6 end?
All right. I know. I'm only going to walk into that slamming door, but you don't get there without him.
Listen. These athletes, they're like our kids. We love them, but we still gotta be a little bit hard on them, cuz.
I don't know if I'm a fan of Whit Merrifield.
Whit Merrifield.
I got to see a hit from that guy.
That's Andrew. Yeah, he'll be all right.
Like,
He'll be so early.
I'm pumping the brakes on the Phillies, but come on, man, get a hit, do something, please.
Well, everything's been quiet. All the bats.
I know.
Yeah.
Castellanos.
Bryce comes up big last night. Listen, again, that's what I said yesterday, Andrew. Leave it be.
I'm trying. Trust me, I know.
Leave it be. It's Memorial Day. VG's gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah, he is.
He's freaking
You
out.
guys are not worried about Nick Castellanos swinging at what was he swinging at that one?
Dude.
Did you see that?
When he goes bad, he's like swatting at flies. Oh my God.
It's like me in the summer. Like,
yeah. When he goes bad,
exactly.
it's terrible. I mean, it really is. Like that I'll give you. When he goes bad, it's terrible. All right, we got draft. You excited for draft?
oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, we got to hone in.
I can't wait for the Meat Locker mock draft though.
I know. Meat Locker mock draft coming up today at 10 o'clock with Baldy. One programming note, we're going to have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Jeremiah Trotter Sr. Baby Axe and Big Axe. We're going to have them both on. Junior's flight got canceled last night. So he was going to be on this morning. So he's going to be on. We're going to reconnect right after the show. So we're going to get Junior on at some point the next day or two. So I'm looking forward. I love
busy
that
schedule
kid,
these
man.
days.
St. Joe Prep and the Baby Axe.
I love it.
Yeah. So
Wait.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So we'll dive deep into the draft. Coming up, Bo Wolf from our All Eagles show. We love Bo. He and Zachariah Berman. We'll talk to those guys coming up next. But let me tell you about your neighborhood Rite Aid. Look, it's allergy season. I don't know about you. I wake up, it's horrible. A headache, my eyes here. I want to scratch my eyeballs with a fork. All right. It's the worst. All right. You know all the signs: nasal congestion, runny nose, scratchy throat, brain fog, which I feel like I have all the time. Just head on over to your neighborhood Rite Aid store. Your Rite Aid pharmacy has everything you need, all right, to combat allergy season. So if you're feeling miserable, just go over. And what I love about Rite Aid is that the pharmacists, all the people at the store, they're your neighbors, right? And you go there and they care about you. And so they'll advise you, hey, look, this is making you tired. Why don't you try this? And they'll give you all kinds of help for whatever ails you, okay? Try all kinds of stuff. Or they have everything from all the antihistamines that are available in the Rite Aid brand, all that stuff. Check it out. Rite Aid, all right? They're the best. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief or catch up on your immunizations for RSV, shingles, or more. Well, Cousin Joey got shingles. No good. You got to get that done. Walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. Now, let's talk about True Fan Travel. Oh, man, your passport to the world of sports. Don't we love our true? We both here, and we're going to be talking about birds, and soon the schedule will be out. Now, we know the opponents, but there's nothing better than getting on a flight with a bunch of Eagle fans and going and invading some enemy stadium. It's the greatest. There's nothing better than that, than experiencing the road. I love travel. It was, I've spent a lifetime covering sports, traveling around the country. I love it. And you make amazing memories. Nobody does it better than True Fan Travel. It was Philly Sports Trips. Now it's True Fan Travel. Over 8,000 plus fans have traveled on over 150 plus trips. All right. Don't just watch the game, live it. We talk about Eagles in Brazil, but there's a lot of Eagles stuff. I mean, all those things. There's Phillies trips. There's all kinds of stuff. Hassle-free travel planning by travel experts who make sure every detail is covered. From game day to excursions, I see how my man Vince Rizzuto does it, and it's top-notch. The best hotels, the best parties. You just want to do it. I'm telling you, your trusted travel partner for professional and collegiate sporting events around the world, True Fan Travel. Visit truefantravel.com to learn more and find your next sports adventure. All right, now it's time to talk some birds.
I'm worried about cousin Joey.
Shingles, he had shingles.
They're gone.
They're gone. He's good now.
All right, we're safe.
He said, dude, no joke.
It doesn't say it. I mean, it sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible.
Yeah.
He's like, let me tell you something. It's one of the worst things. He goes, freaking painful. He was out at a concert. He said, I went to a concert. And he goes, dude, I was in bad, like I was hurt, man.
Yeah, I do not envy cousin Joey. I'm glad he's doing better.
Yeah, no, he's good now.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank God.
Thank you, Rite Aid.
Yeah. So big news yesterday, and I love the fact, Bo, you come on.
Yeah, let's
breaking
go.
news. That was awesome. All right, I loved it. So you get Devontae locked up. My question to you is, who's Devontae? Like, who is he? Now, obviously, you're sharing the spotlight and the number one status with a guy like A.J. Brown. So who is Devontae in your eyes?
I think that Devontae is capable of being a number one, a one guy, but I think probably more likely in that like 1B category. Whereas like if they traded A.J. Brown, I would feel confident that Devontae's numbers would rise and he could handle that load, but you would need somebody else next to him to become the number two guy. And I actually think if you think about the timing of this, what is interesting is not just, okay, now you're set up for Devontae and AJ have been paid. They don't necessarily need to fight for targets. But a week before the draft, if they're at the top of the board in the first or second round and a wide receiver is there and they know that guy can add a little bit of juice to the offense, now that you have paid Devontae, you don't have to worry about necessarily what his reaction to that would be. He's not going to be fighting for targets next season since he's already been paid. And so if like the board falls a certain way and a wide receiver is who they want in the first or second round, you have at least taken care of the potential for discord behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would be shocked if a wide receiver comes.
In the first round, I would be shocked.
Yeah.
But shocked is not, like, that's what they care about. And they know that the path for them, they think, is to have an elite offense and to have just a fine defense. And so,
dude, and you know what? They're not wrong because we talk about this a lot, right? And I love defense. I know you love defense. Like,
of course.
Like if you're from Philadelphia, were kind of raised defensively. Jim Johnson, the whole thing. It's just a part of the region, right? The offense wins. Now I know Kansas City won with Spags' defense. It's great, but if you're going to go and choose one side of the ball to be better, you choose offense.
And not only does offense sort of matter a little bit more, the reason it does in the big picture is because it's much more consistent. You look at like year over year, the top 5, top 10 offenses remain close to the same. Defense is so variable year over year. Like Spags' defense this year was awesome. A year ago, they weren't very good. And there's just a lot of volatility year to year on defense. And so that's what part of the reason why if you're going to build around something, it makes more sense to build around
sustainability is huge when it comes to that. So let's talk about it for a second because it always comes back to Jaylen. Like if you look at last year, right? And you look at now, Brian Johnson was a disaster. Nick didn't help out the offense.
Sure.
We talk about the lack of movement, right? We look at, we talk about elemental things like the hot
routes
reads.
are the same.
Right.
Just like one-on-one guys on the outside. Let's have a little bit of communication between the routes.
There's no creativity in the offense. Everything we saw the year before with Steichen just kind of dissipated, and they were still potent, but then you saw it kind of fall off the cliff.
Totally.
And this goes back to, I think, Jaylen. The key to everything is Jaylen and getting Jaylen back to where he was 2 years ago.
And maybe for them, what they learned is that like Jaylen is not the guy who is Patrick Mahomes and is going to lift everybody else around him. He needs a little bit more to be supported by. And so maybe you go get Saquon Barkley, you pay for that. Maybe you do add another weapon in the passing game on the first 2 days of the draft so that teams can't just focus on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. There are more options for him. And if he's not going to be the same running threat that he was 2 years ago, then they probably do need a little bit more help in the passing game.
You reconcile this for me. In that Super Bowl, he was
the best game I've ever seen.
Incandescent. Like he was the touch he had. Like that whole year, he displayed a touch that I didn't think he had.
That game, I mean, by far the best game that I have ever seen him play.
He was unbelievable.
I close my eyes and think of watching that game from the press box, and the one play that, like, over and over I can just picture in my mind is the one where he's rolling to his right and threads it to Dallas Goedert.
Yes.
Just like the tightest window possible.
Yes.
And Goedert makes a beautiful catch on the sideline. They have to check it, but it is a catch. That pass was insane. He was so good in that game, and that's why there's a recency bias to it, because you enter the next season, you're like, that's his level of play. He went toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes. This is who he is now. And it doesn't always work like that. Development is not just a straight curve. So there's bumps along the way. But like we've seen that level of play from him. I'm sure that like Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman's number one thought process is how do we get him back to that level?
Well, and that's what I keep seeing in my mind. And I didn't see that last year, right? And you say he was Folesian in that Super Bowl, right? He was that ridiculous. Last year, some of the habits were worrisome, right? Like leaving the pocket too soon.
Totally.
Right? Seeing some ghosts, eyes down instead of up. What's the word? Like, what are you hearing about that piece? Because I don't know that then we're going to get to the draft in a second, but how much, we don't really talk as much about that. And that to me is the key, that the whole thing.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of this is just sort of like human nature. Like, he plays that game, the most important game of his life, plays the best game of his life. And, there's the story of he's got his cell phone background of like walking off the field in disappointment. This guy's going to be so motivated, although he just, he gets paid. And you wonder, like, the come down from that, it is a long road to get back there. And I know that, like, Jaylen Hurts will tell you, and everybody around you will tell him, or around him will tell you that, like, this guy is as dedicated to the process as anybody. Yeah. But, like, that's a long road. And maybe it is, week 3 against the Rams or whoever it is. Like, you don't necessarily have the same juice as you did in the Super Bowl. And maybe you get away from the things that work and you get a little bit lazy.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, this is where Kellen Moore, a fresh voice.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good hire. I like the hire. So I'm thinking fresh voice. You got a new weapon. That excites me for the future of Jaylen.
Yeah, and we hear that Kellen Moore is all about motion, right? Like that's something that they want to add. I still have like real questions about how much of the offense is going to be Kellen Moore's versus Sirianni's. What's the melding of that? I don't think we're going to really know the answer to that until early in the season. But there's no doubt that they needed a fresh perspective.
Was that Steichen's offense or Nick's offense?
I think my general take is that, like, in totality, we probably don't give Nick enough credit for the 2022 offense. He would say, and Shane would say, that it's like Sirianni's menu, but Steichen's calling the plays. Yeah. I do think that he needed the perspective of someone who he trusted a little bit more. Like, I know that he likes Brian Johnson, but I think that probably knowing that it was a tight turnaround, a quick offseason, that he probably felt like he was being a little bit more, he needed to meddle a little bit more than he did with Shane. He didn't trust Brian quite as much, I think.
Big story of the day brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Find for yourself the TrueMark Credit Union difference. So let's look at draft and, where are we at? All the talk is, obviously the offensive line and the fact that you can get a guard to play this year and push him out to tackle in the future.
Yeah. Now,
there's a lot of it's deep when it comes to that.
It is. Zach and I went through this exercise on the show yesterday, trying to sort of stack what we think the Eagles board might look like.
Yeah.
And it actually made things clarifying for me that, like, the odds of them sticking at 22 and getting somebody that they really love,
nah,
I'm not so sure that's going to happen, Like the tackles, you talk to people around the league, they're going to go off the board early.
There's going to be a run on them. You can see it.
Like, and if they really want a guy, they might have to trade up for him. And I don't think that trading up, if it's going to cost a second-round pick, is going to be worth it in this draft class. I also don't think that you can stick at 22 and get a lockdown corner, unless you really love Cooper DeJean. I think we talked about that last week. And so it might end up being they take one of the guys who's just a tackle and has to sit, and nobody's excited about that. Like it's Tyler Guyton or Amarius Mims, or they try to trade back, or maybe it is that like wide receiver is at the top of their board, and they think, if Brian Thomas of LSU is there, he adds this juice like that. We're going to get more out of that.
That would blow my mind.
He would, right?
Receiver.
And I don't think he's going to be there either because I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's very good.
But I think there's a chance that we might end up a little bit just disappointed from what comes out of it.
Really? No, because I agree with you. I think there's going to be a trade. So let's talk about. So we know just off the bat that Tennessee's going to take a tack. They're going to take an offensive lineman.
Sure.
Right? You got to believe that Atlanta's possible to take an offensive lineman. The Chargers, Harbaugh is possible to take an offensive lineman, right?
Offensive lineman, wide receiver, corner. That's what everybody wants.
I know.
Like those are the positions that are going to go. And so, would you rather have the 8th offensive lineman off the board or the 3rd corner off the board?
Yo, sir, listen.
I don't know.
Like, what about Wiggins?
I like Wiggins.
I mean, he's fast.
He's super fast. He's really good in man-to-man coverage. I don't know if he's the Eagles type. Like, he's not Vic Fangio's type from what I can tell. He's not as physical as Fangio might want. He's not quite as experienced in zone. But I think you could see yourself talking yourself into this is the guy who is like the best athlete at the position. Like covering man-to-man is the most valuable thing that a corner can do. And so he seems like the guy who would be like, we're at 22. The board has not fallen exactly how we like. We don't have a good offer to move back. Let's sort of hold our nose and take Nate Wiggins.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think that they're going to – I think it's listen, we've seen it every year that they trade up. It's this portion of the Anthony Gargano Show is brought to you by Rite Aid. Head to your local Rite Aid store today for all of your goods and pharmacy needs. Bo Wolf from our All PHLY Eagles show, who is fantastic with Zach Berman with us. I keep coming back to it, and it keeps coming back to trade, right? Like it's all about trade. I think you almost have to move up.
Yeah. Now the flip side is like the reason that Howie Roseman has been so willing to trade up in recent years is because he's already been up high enough so that it didn't take much to move up where he needed to get.
Now you're at 22.
Right now you're at 22. If you want to get to 15 or something, it's probably going to cost you a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's anybody in this class who's going to be there for them that's worth a 1st and a 2nd, right? So you hope that somebody slides, and if not, maybe you move back and you get a little bit extra. You get a 3rd-round pick, and you sort of just go volume.
What about any of these offensive linemen you think could be there 15 to 18? I mean, there are a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. So, Joe Alt will be off the board, right?
Yeah, he's gone.
Fashanu is going to be off the board,
Yep.
I imagine. Although I do think that he's a guy who might appeal to them as a possible trade-up candidate.
Yeah, but I don't think I think he goes before. Did you say 15? I think he goes before that.
Troy Fautanu from Washington is the guy who sort of fits the template of Stoutland's movement skills and could play guard right away and eventually move to right tackle, you think.
Fuanga's gone too, by the way.
Fuanga's probably gone. Although I hear some people in the league are not as enamored with him as like the media seems to be. But he's a guy who's not he's not a movement guy, he's a mauler, right? And so I don't know if that's Stoutland's type either. Then you get to like Tyler Guyton and Amarius Mims, who are these monstrous developmental tackles only. And like
Latham's there too.
Now Latham is the guy, and Zach has talked a lot about Latham. I think Latham is the guy who, if they're going to move up 4 or 5 spots, he makes sense to me.
Yeah.
There's the obvious Stoutland Alabama connection. He has the guard tackle versatility. He has like the rare size that Stoutland might covet. He is the guy who seems like the most Eaglesy to me.
Eagles, I like that.
Yeah,
Eaglesy, I like that a lot. Tell me about Steen, because the fact that there's all this talk right, tells me that they're cool on Steen.
So there's the thing that happened at the owners' meetings, right? It's the breakfast press conference. It's like 8:30 in the morning. Nick Sirianni is asked about his plans for right guard, and he forgets to mention Tyler Steen. So on the one hand, like, the guy's tired. It's 8:30. We're not always saying the right things at 8:30 in the morning. You can forgive that.
Or at 9:40.
Right, exactly. Not a big deal. At the same time, if the head coach is going to bed at night thinking about his offensive line and he has a right guard in mind,
should be front load.
He's not going to forget that guy's name when he's talking about the guys who are competing. So I don't think that Tyler Steen is like out of the picture. But I think you saw last year, didn't trust him right away. I mean, they needed a right guard, and Sua Opeta is playing over him. And I like Sua Opeta, but they let Sua Opeta leave in free agency, right? So it's not like they view him as a stud starting caliber guard. And so there are real questions about Tyler Steen here. Guys are allowed to develop. It takes some time along the offensive line. He was switching positions, switching sides. I think it's okay to still believe in him, but I think it's also fair to say they do not view him as the week one starting right guard for sure. I think they would like to add some competition.
Is there anybody right here, depth-wise, right now on the roster that you say, you know what, he could be your guy for, the next season or two?
So Matt Hennessy, who they signed in free agency, is a guy who, was drafted on day 2 by the Falcons, has had real trouble staying healthy and is coming off an injury that cost him all season last year. Can play center and guard, obviously played at Temple, so there's a local connection.
Yep.
I think like if he stays healthy, it's a big if. He could be a starter. He's a starting caliber player, but I don't think that they're viewing him as the guy just because, he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
And then the other piece we talk about that we haven't talked about is anybody off the edge that strike. Like, because listen, we know that offensive line, tackle, corner, and edge.
No doubt.
Right? That's what this draft is strong in.
And I think there are, like, if you talk about the tackles are going to go, the top corners are going to go, the wide receivers are going to go. It is possible that, like, let's say Laiatu Latu, teams don't take him off their board because of medical concerns, and the Eagles clear him. I think that's possible. Now, I don't love the idea of you sign Bryce Huff, you trade Hassan Reddick, then you use a first-round pick on the edge, and you're backfilling, and there's not enough snaps to go around. I don't love that use of resources, but I could see being talked into Latu there. The other one, and I think this is like a little bit off the board, and Zach and I disagree about this a little bit. Like, could they take a defensive tackle for the 3rd year in a row? If Byron Murphy is
I know,
the best
I think
guy
about
on the board,
he's Eaglesy, to be honest.
He is, and he's a good fit for playing next to Jordan Davis, right?
Yes,
and
because he can get to the quarterback. He's got wiggle. He's got a lot of. He's got that
you
quick.
Think that the offenses are going to focus on Jalen Carter, right? They're going to double team Jalen Carter. And Jordan Davis, you've decided after 2 years he doesn't have the pass.
Yeah, Murphy's out of Texas. I love him.
What's going to happen on 3rd down? You want to get this guy singled up in the middle? Yeah, I think that's possible.
I know. Isn't it crazy? Like, you think about it, like, they could actually go tackle again.
3 years in a row after using a 3rd-round pick on Milton Williams, who was good.
I know. I need to see more, though. This is his year.
I think so.
Sweat, and to me, Sweat and Milton Williams, you need to step up.
Well, Milton, that is a position, and to be fair to Jordan Davis, defensive tackles do usually take some time, more so than other positions. And so, Milton Williams is going into his 4th year, bigger role this year. Yeah. I would say that I am more bullish on like seeing more from Milton Williams this year than I am seeing Josh Sweat take a leap to what he's already shown. Yeah,
I feel you. Bo, great stuff as always. We'll be watching a little bit later on, 11 o'clock.
Noon today.
Noon.
We're having Devin Jackson from the Inquirer to talk about safeties today.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Safeties and linebackers.
And then this afternoon, we talked to Devontae Smith and Howie Roseman.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We'll be watching. Bo Wolf, make sure you watch him. Follow him. He is terrific. He and Zach Berman. All right. Now let's go. The big brain. And I'm nervous, big brain. I am nervous about tomorrow night. You got any vibes for me about how we're feeling? Sixers Heat?
Brain. Brad the Brain Feinberg.
I mean, it gets me every time. It does.
Well, it's fantastic.
Look, I'm not
Yeah, it is fantastic. No, I think Philadelphia is going to win, Anthony. I do. Um, again, the line actually went to 4, and I was tempted to make a bet on the Sixers, but it's back up to 4.5 now, so that temptation got taken away. I do think they win. Again, Anthony, you call them vampires. Perfect way to describe Miami. They're just always there, and they scare the what out of you. But I think the Sixers are better. I do. The Sixers with Embiid, Anthony. What's their record? I think they're 29-6 or something like that, or 30-7 or something like that in that ilk. They had the best record in the NBA. I think they'll find a way to win this game. And you know what's interesting? There's ways to look at this, how this whole Embiid thing went down, Anthony. I mean, it's let Paul Reed play that many more minutes, get that much more established. I feel like Kelly Oubre's played really well recently. You may disagree with me on this, but I'm curious on your take. I think right now, obviously, Embiid and Max are the best two players by 30 trillion miles. But right now, the guy I trust next most is Kelly Oubre. You may think I'm smoking something, but
no, dude, completely agree. I think he is a key, and I've been saying this because what he does is he does what Tobias Harris is supposed to do offensively, right?
You nailed it.
But Oubre is fearless. Like, here's the thing about Tobias. Tobias is a better defensive player, and Tobias has got beautiful skills. But Tobias always needed, I think, Oubre's fearlessness. Because Oubre's got no problem putting it up. Like, he got no problem. I think he's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, listen, again, if I look at last year's team, Anthony, versus this year's team, I actually, you call me crazy, I think Harden is addition by subtraction. If I was offered him back for free, said, you know what, he's taking the league minimum, he's going to play here. No, thank you. It's not that he's a bad player. I'm not that.
He dominates the basketball.
Yeah, he dominates the basketball.
Dominate the ball.
This is why, again, in your next life, you'll be a coach, because that's exactly right. To me, he was a ball dominator, and on this team, that's not what you need. And in my opinion, getting a player like Oubre to be that potential third guy, and then maybe now Tobias to be the fourth scorer. I like where they're at right now. And again, I even think some of these role players they have played well. I do wish Melton didn't get hurt, because I think he could have helped maybe defense a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I still think this is a team, Anthony. If they win, we talked about it yesterday, right? This is a must win, because if they lose this game, they're not going to beat Boston. Now, if they win this game, I think by the time they play Boston, I actually think they have a real chance. But I think this game is A through Z in the alphabet. I think it's everything.
Yeah, I said that was the lead to the show this morning, was exactly that you have to win tomorrow night, because you have to have some attrition on the Celtics before you play them to have any kind
100%.
of chance.
We
and
see
plus,
it the same way.
You also need Embiid to fall into a rhythm with what's the guys around them too. Like, that's the
100%.
other piece of the puzzle. So we're in lockstep. I also talked about the fear of Butler and Spoelstra and Miami, right? Like, you remember 2 years ago when they beat you, Jimmy has got that. I call them vampires for a reason. They're haunting. And Miami is like Tampa Bay for the Eagles. It's just whatever it is, they're a haunting type of team.
Yeah, listen, there's no question about it. Again, I'm not going to talk bad about Miami, because last year they won me over to the point where I'm like, okay. As I always say, Anthony, on the show, and then every time we get together, I'm like, in life, you either choose to be consistent or you choose to be right. I faded Miami for a while, and I'm like, you know what? I've been wrong. I mean, I've got to acknowledge that I was wrong. Okay, that this team does have a second gear. They don't treat the regular season the same way. I can't just use my data points, because I'm going to get laughed out of the building, right?
Right.
And that's a perfect example, because Miami has bit me in the past because I have not given them the credit they deserve. No more. I'm not going to overrate them, but I'm also going to say I do realize this team does have a second gear. We saw it with the Chiefs in the NFL. Like, Mahomes, like these other teams play the same. the Chiefs are able to rise, and Spags is a great coordinator, Reed's a great coach. They're able to take their game up to another level. Miami has shown year after year after year they have that as well. And by the way, let's be fair about it, Anthony. Let's be fair. Which team has shrunk more than any team in the past 6 years?
Oh, the Sixers, without a doubt.
Right. No, it's not even on the SAT test. It would just be choice A, Philadelphia. There wouldn't be a B, C, and D. Okay, that's just the way it's been. But I think this culture is different. I think this team is different. I know the coach is different. And I think Doc Rivers, and Anthony, I know you know the guy, maybe the nicest man who ever lived. Not saying that. He's actually had a good career, but I don't think it's a fluke. In my opinion, the Bucks are 16 and 17 with him.
Would you say that about Pop?
What did I say? Oh, yeah, right, exactly. I didn't get that. Went over my head initially. But, yeah, that was actually a great one. But to me, Doc Rivers, look, versus Nick Nurse, if you made the trade right now, I think the Sixers would have their same kind of song and dance. I'm really looking forward to Anthony, seeing what the price will be. I'm going to get your opinion on this. If the Sixers do win this game, what do you think Sixers-Knicks price is? I have a number in my head. I'm curious what you made it.
So I'll say, I love the Sixers in that series. I think it'll be 120. I think
160. I think it's gonna be like 160. I think it's gonna be higher than that, but we'll see. Yeah, I think they're a lot better. I do.
No, but you think they'll come in? The line makers will make it that high?
Yeah, that's what my numbers are, and I'll play off that. If it comes in at 120,
I think there's a lot of New York love, home court. I think you're going to get
home court for one game. Home court for one game, because Sixers win game one, that home court will be gone. I think the Sixers are better.
I love the Sixers in the series.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you from their perspective.
Well,
there's a lot.
I'm going to bring
this
up right now, Anthony. I want to look up on the Park site right now what we have and the NBA futures, because I think the Sixers, maybe I'm wrong on this, are a much bigger favorite in terms of. Let me bring this up in terms of
get to the
going
finals.
to and if that's the case, that's going to mean I'm trying to bring this up.
You're saying
they're going to have to be.
It's got to be a higher number.
Yeah, the Sixers are to win the East 7-1. The Knicks are 13-1. So think of it like that. So they're basically saying
it would equate to that. I'm just thinking New York, public,
Yeah, but I hear you.
So
but I think it's an interesting series. If it comes in at 120, Sixers will be a large bet for me.
Double X.
If it does come in at double X, I kind of like the way my T-shirt size is these days. But I will. It'll be a big bet for me if that's the case. But I think it's an interesting series for sure. But again, they need to win this game. We've talked about it, Anthony, and it's interesting. A guy who I work with. Do you know Michael Salfino?
No.
Do you know that name? Okay, he works for the Athletic. Done podcasts with him. He's a huge Knicks fan, and he's like, Sixers are going to get killed by the Knicks. Embiid will. What's his name? Hartenstein will slow him down. He's going to absolutely stone him. And I'm like, I don't get it
all the time. I used to work,
and I respect him. He's a smart guy, and he thinks the Knicks will just kill the Sixers. But we'll see.
Well, again, that's my point as to why there's a lot of people that feel that way. That's why I think the line will be what the line will be.
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
I think they're going to look at it and go, I think there's going to be a lot of Knicks support. Which you and I are on the same page with.
Yeah, we're on the same page. We always are on this stuff.
So, what about tonight? You got anything for tonight's playing games in the West?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to give you a couple of things. Rui Hachimura, okay? He's actually really done a nice job since they traded for him. His last 30 games, he's 23-7 over 12.5 points. 23-7. He's averaging over 16. They made the over 12.5, and I say to myself, okay, this guy is now, his minutes have skyrocketed. He's an integral part of the team. He's averaging, again, over 16. Why are you making it 12.5? Because it's the playoff. I mean, are they just going to say, now that's the playoffs, you're not going to do anything? I'm not buying it. I would have made it, maybe you want to tell me 14.5 and knock him down 1.5. I'll listen to that, and I wouldn't have played it. But considering the guy's averaging 16 for 30-game stretch, 23-7, I'm gonna bite on Rui Hachimura over 12.5 points. I'll give you two more. I'm just looking at my notes. I apologize. Andrew Wiggins, Golden State Warriors. Anthony, they made his over under 15.5. I think that's too high. I do. He averaged
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
Not a scorer. This team now they have a bunch of other players. I don't think he is what he was when he was like when they won the title. Again, even giving him, when I looked at it, even if I bump him up 10% of his minutes, maybe I can get to around 14.
No, I agree with you.
15
there's
and a half is a little too high.
And in the playoffs, I don't think he gets that many opportunities. I agree with you.
And Anthony, we're on a I think a 7-game winning streak on your show. So hopefully let's continue this. De'Aaron Fox, under 6.5 assists. He averages about 5.5. Now, even with a bump in minutes, I'm giving him to closer to 6. But Golden State's been very stout defensively. I think it's been a lower scoring playoff game. The most I can get to is 6 assists here. So I guess to get 7 to beat me. Again, these margins we're talking about, Anthony, are always thin. But again, I think the right number is closer to 6. It's 6.5. Out of the 3 bets I'm giving, it's probably my least favorite of the 3. But I did bet it. I took De'Aaron Fox under 6.5 assists. I think he lands on 5 or 6.
Yeah, you like the Kings?
I do. I think the Kings win outright. They're an underdog. I think the Kings win the game. Again, they still are. There's still residual respect for Golden State, which is just as long until Steph Curry, I guess, retires. It's just going to be there. They're just, and Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, they're just going to get that last guard respect until they're eliminated, quite frankly. But I think Golden State is done tonight. I really do.
The Daily Grind with the big brain, brought to you by the Bet Park Sportsbook app. How about the Lakers? Who do you like in that game?
Man, that is a tough game. I'm going to lean actually towards the Pelicans.
Yeah.
They did now.
They're
listen, I respect.
man.
They are. I know. Again, the last game of the year, the Lakers, took care of business. I respect. I like the Pelicans team though. Actually, now especially they have Brandon Ingram back. Anthony. Again, I look at their team. I mean, Murphy to me is a really good shooter, good scorer. Ingram and Zion are obviously really good. McCollum's playing the best he's played all year. This is not a team bereft of talent. Okay, this is a team that can play. Now, the Lakers, obviously.
I love McCollum. I've always been a CJ fan.
Yeah, from a talent perspective, Lakers have great talent, Anthony. Obviously, you have the 2 megastars and LeBron and AD. And then again, I love Austin Reeves. I think he's terrific. And they played really well. I mean, and I like Hachimura as a role player. Russell's played well. I think the Lakers, from just pure talent standpoint, they're arguably the most talented team in the NBA. I don't know if you think I'm nuts, but there's just something about that team where
I mean they have good talent. Yeah,
they have good. I think they have very good talent. I think they have a lot of good players. But I think New Orleans Pelicans win the game. I do.
All right. I can't wait. I'm looking forward. I love the NBA playoffs. We got to get into that. Also, and then we got to get to baseball real quick.
Yep.
On Friday, I saw the draft odds over-unders or where players are getting taken. So I sold my man at Circa because here at ALLCITY we do a lot of stuff with Circa. So they put it up.
Was it Jeffrey Benson?
Yeah. So I saw it up, and I want to throw it. I want to throw these numbers at you. All right. All the the draft is awesome. Like where it's going to go. So they put it's basically over unders for all the players.
Sure.
How will they be taken? Finally, baseball. How about Nola? 9 Ks last night. That's why you stayed away.
I laid off it, and I gave out actually as my best bet of the day, and ended up winning. I actually had Cal Quantrill under 3.5 earned runs. What's interesting, Anthony? How hard it is to get 4 runs. He had an ERA of 5.30 last year, and he went under. An ERA of 5.30, he went under 12 of 19 games despite that. But I thought that number at 3.5 was too high. He only gave up run. But I do have a couple baseball bets today, Anthony. I'm going to give listeners, hopefully we can have a good day, talking of 3.5 earned runs, right? It is hard. Seriously, people understand. It's hard to give up 4 earned runs, especially in today's world. Back in 1978, giving up 4 runs was like having a sip of water. But in today's world, you get pulled if you're giving up.
Because you pitched 8 innings no matter what.
Exactly. So
you
now
threw 195 pitches.
Dude, you nailed it. And Tommy Henry, Arizona Diamondbacks, is he good? No. He doesn't have to be good. He doesn't usually give up 4 earned runs. He's 18-10 to the under. Cubs just had their best player on the DL in Suzuki. I don't think Tommy Henry gives up 4 runs. And I also did take other bet, but the juice is higher on this. I mean, if you may not have the stomach for it, under 6.5 hits. he's been winning that almost every game as well too. But I do like the runs bet because the juice was very, very low. I'll give you Jose Quintana, Anthony, New York Mets, under 2.5 walks. Now it's interesting. 2 years ago, he was 26-1 his last 27 starts to under 2.5 walks. The data the last 2 years hasn't been quite as good, 10-6, but I still like that. The fact that 2 years ago he was never walked anyone. He's still 10-6 the last 2 years. I think this number should be closer to 1.5. So I like Jose Quintana, New York Mets, under 2.5 walks.
You got any thought on the Phillies?
Yeah, I mean the Phillies. Let me bring up the numbers from the Phillies game here. Hang on, Anthony. I got to bring that up to see because I've just been working like crazy. They're going against Gomber. I know. Let me see what the line is right now. Wow, yeah, the Phillies are laying. It's minus 250. I knew it was big. It's minus 250. Again, I'm never
250. Right.
I'm almost never laying minus 250 in games like that. Now Suarez is pitching really, really well.
He looks
and
great.
I was tempted.
Ranger.
I was tempted to bet under 1.5 runs because you can get plus $1.35. I think under 1.5 runs. That would be my biggest lean in this game. Would be Suarez under 1.5 runs, taking a nice price because I love he's a streaky guy and he's in a good streak right now.
Yeah.
And the Rockies can't hit on top of it, so that would be my favorite lean of it. Didn't bet it, but I was close. Was taking Suarez under 1.5 earned runs.
I love it. That's great stuff, my man. Big brain.
I'll see you tomorrow.
No, you're off tomorrow.
I'll go off tomorrow. I'll see you Thursday. Yeah.
But you'll send me your picks. I can give them to everybody. Okay.
Be good.
Perfect. See you, brain. There he is, Brad Feinberg, the Big Brain Daily Grind. Let me tell you about the Bet Park Sportsbook app because right now you downloaded all that stuff that we just talked about. Hachimura over 12.5 points. Wiggins under his point total. Fox under his assist total. All that stuff that Brad just gave you, you could bet right on the Bet Park Sportsbook app. They have everything. All that stuff. He uses the Bet Park Sportsbook odds so you could build parlay. You could VG's he parlays Brad's picks all the time. You can do that. You can play him any which way you want. You got, series stuff. Once the NBA series play begins, you can bet on that. You have in-game, so you watch the Sixers Heat game tomorrow night, and you can see a trend. You could play it that way. They also have your favorite casino games. They have your live blackjack deals. I mean, you name it, right on the Bet Parks Sportsbook app. It is absolutely fantastic. You love to play. You play to win. You bet Parks. So go to betparks.com for all the details. Like if you win your first $10 sports bet, you get $125 in sportsbook bonus back. betparks.com has all your details. Gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. JP.
Absolutely. Well, as you guys know, as we discussed earlier, tonight is the Flyers. Big game here against the Capitals, PHLY Flyers. We have in the watch party. Now, typically for games, we're sucking back a couple beers, couple maybe Coors Lights, whatever we have here in the fridge. But today, guys, it's a weekday. I don't really drink on the weekdays anymore. So I'm choosing my favorite, Olipop, ladies and gentlemen. Olipop is the best, ladies and gentlemen. It's the world's first functional soda with a classic soda taste and the benefits of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients to support gut health. That's important, ladies and gentlemen. It's a new kind of soda with only 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of fiber per can. Olipop is available in almost 30,000 retailers nationwide. And here's the big one. I know everyone's enjoying the free coffee at Wawa. Well, while you're getting your free cup of coffee, grab an Olipop for lunch or for dinner. It's right. It'll be right on the way. Grab it. You'll thank yourself later. And of course, the debut in Wawa couldn't be more of a match made in heaven. A delicious, healthy drink meets a convenience store, both adored by a cult following. The 2 flavors debuted in Wawa are the classic root beer, which is solid, and I do believe I have it here. Now, it's cherry vanilla, but strawberry vanilla is at Wawa now. Also a great flavor to pick from as well. But guys, if you want right now, use the code PHLY20 to get 20% off your next Olipop order. The discount only applies to one-time orders, not to subscription orders. Olipop is sold online, drinkolipop.com, on Amazon as well. And like we mentioned, available in almost 30,000 retailers nationwide, including Wawa, Target, Sprouts, Wegmans, ShopRite, and GoPuff. Thank you to Olipop. Enjoy, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.
Salud. There you go.
All right. It's 10 a.m. across the Delaware Valley, and I love it. We're getting heavy into the draft. In fact, the Trotters, junior and senior, will be joining the program at some point. They were supposed to be on today but we had a flight issue for young Trotter. This portion of the program is presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out TrueMark.com/PHLY. Stop into your local branch to learn more about the credit union difference at TrueMark Financial today. Now, the legend. We got to continue the Meat Locker mock draft with the one, the only, Baldy.
Baldy. Oh, let's talk some football. Baldy. Oh, he likes meats and football. Oh, Baldy.
All right, cuz, I like it, man. It gets better and better each time I watch it.
No, we gotta drop in that new picture. In fact, I saw you post it. It's legendary. It's Baldy and Mike Piazza on Hermosa Beach.
Yes.
All right. So
Yeah.
I will send it to the guys so they can drop that picture in.
What
That
in?
is a legendary picture.
Yeah, that was, we were training at my buddy's place in Hermosa, the yard, and Piazza, if you notice, he's got a broken thumb. So, he was doing all this conditioning and stuff on the beach. I was out there trying to keep my career going, whatever. It's like probably 95, 94, 95. And so we were out there every morning together, man. So that picture popped up. Somebody sent it to me the other day. I put it back out there.
Was he he was with the Mets at that time, right?
I think he was with the Dodgers at the time.
Okay.
I think. But he was sort of like, I remember when he was with the Mets, I remember the All-Star game. I remember in Philadelphia at Veterans Stadium, he hit a home run in the All-Star game. Like, it was out of the park before anybody could blink. But he might have, I think he was with the Dodgers at the time, cuz.
He was. We've gotten people are asking too if you could send us a picture of you running with the Bulls. If you could find that too, you in Spain. We want to put that one in the opening too. Okay.
All right. I mean, this is mid '90s now. There wasn't exactly a whole lot of cameras around. Nobody was carrying any camera with them. Although one of the things they did, they might still do it. I haven't run, since then. But one of the things they did, this was '95, is Fuji had these cameras set up along the track, and they just snapped pictures like nonstop. So you would go and you would see all the pictures that they posted, and they would probably catch you during the run with the bull near in the vicinity, whatever, and then you would just order those pictures, and that's how they did it back then.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, we definitely need that. But that picture of you and Piazza, you look like a wrestler. You were in heavy playing days.
Yes.
So you had to be 50 pounds heavier?
Yeah, I thought that at that time in my life, I thought everybody should weigh 300 pounds once in their life. And I thought life began at 300. So I was probably 295, but I think I did get over to I pushed up to 302 at one point. And that was the biggest and strongest I ever got in my life at that point.
Yeah, but you weren't heavy, you were thick, you were put together. People
No, I was strong.
Yeah.
I was we were doing heavy bench, heavy deadlifts at the time. We were lifting for maximum muscle at that point.
What were you benching at that point?
I'll never forget, cuz I was at this World Gym on a Friday night, and I took 465 off the rack and benched 465. I had a bench press shirt on, but I took 465, no spotters. I took it off the rack. I pressed it one time. That was my 465 was my all-time best.
465 without a spotter? My Lord.
465. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was a legit bench if you didn't take it off the rack yourself. Like if a spotter was taking you and setting you up to lift it,
right?
I didn't think that was an official lift.
Wow, that's impressive. 460. Wow, that's crazy. All right, let's get to our draft, our Meat Locker mock draft. I got to ask you about something because I heard. Now, we'll see, but I heard you draft a lot of talk. Washington is enamored with J.J. McCarthy.
Okay,
I got to tell you, I don't understand it. Like, you got Jaden Daniels sitting there or J.J. McCarthy. To me, it's a no-brainer. You got to go Jaden Daniels.
I find it hard to believe. I mean, maybe Cliff Kingsbury sees something. I mean, he's the new offense coordinator. He's coached Johnny Manziel, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield. He's coached a bunch of guys that were, first-round draft picks. But I find it hard to believe that Washington is going to forego Jaden Daniels. Because I see a lot of drafts have Jaden Daniels, like, for example, our lads has Jaden Daniels as their number one ranked quarterback. That doesn't mean that Chicago's going to take Jaden Daniels, but they have him as the number one ranked quarterback. I don't see anybody having Jay. So let me ask you this, cuz.
Yeah.
We've all watched, we met Michael Penix, we met his agent. We've watched a bunch of Washington tape. Nobody threw the ball deeper, more frequently, and better than Washington did. If you took J.J. McCarthy and put him in Washington's offense, would they be 14-0 and on the brink of winning a national championship? I don't believe that.
No.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe it either. First of all, he doesn't have the arm talent that Penix has. Penix's arm talent is off the charts ridiculous. I mean, we saw, especially if you go and watch that Texas game, and we did, and you saw the down the field in the drop in the bucket shots were insane. You can talk all you want about his receivers, and they're very good, but he was putting stuff in tight windows.
Yeah, no, all game long. And, just touch throws, every type of throw that you could. Like, if you wanted to put the highlight tape together of a quarterback for this draft, I mean, you could just take 8 throws from the Texas game and go, here's my highlight reel. Go, find a flaw. So I have not heard what you've heard, like the enamor. I kind of hear chalk, like Caleb, Chicago, Jaden, Washington. And in my mock, I had New England trading back, but I hear Drake to New England, and the draft starts at 4 with Arizona. And whether they take Marvin Harrison Jr. or one of the receivers or trade out, I kind of feel like that's where the draft is going to start, which is a little departure from what we talked about last week in my first 10. But look, these things, Mel Kiper Jr. is up to the 4th mock draft. Daniel Jeremiah will have his 4th mock draft.
2.0, man. Listen, as more information and stuff leaks out, and listen, it's a small world, right? Like, so, all it takes is stuff to come out and you kind of figure out what's real, what's not real. But it's legitimate. Like, teams' boards are already set, and you kind of have an idea. They know who they're looking at. And this is where stuff this time of the year where it filters out.
Well, it does filter. I mean, sometimes it is put out there and it's put through, the guys that broadcast this stuff, on the Adam Schefters or Ian Rappaports or Jay Glazers. There's stuff that comes out by the agents, by teams for a variety of different reasons, smoke screens, you name it. But I think the big thing, like, for example, I'm going to be on Total Access NFL Network tomorrow. And they said, what, like, you have suggestions? And I said, look, let's just take a couple of teams. Like, I just said, let's take the Pittsburgh Steelers, who haven't won a playoff game since 2016. They're picking number 20. And let's take the Chargers at number 5. Like, let's have a real war room debate. What's the best player to take for the Chargers at 5 to get out of this malaise that they've been in, get to the playoffs and win a playoff game? And the same thing with the Steelers. Like, you can make a case that Jim Harbaugh and, their new general manager, like, they could easily go right tackle at that spot. They could go Malik Neighbors, Romadunzi at that spot. Like, they could trade out of the spot. You could look at Pittsburgh and go, boy, they started building the offensive line last year. Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo. Let's go get ourselves a starting center since we don't really have one right now. Or you could go, you could go receiver. They just lost Deontay Johnson. They got George Pickens. And so my point to the network was, let's just have real debates. Like, what's the best player, if they're both available, that helps our team the most, the quickest? Like we saw the day the Eagles traded for A.J. Brown during the draft, they got better. They got so good that they went all the way to the brink of winning the Super Bowl. So one player at the right spot can certainly make a big difference. It can springboard you.
Yeah, and,
so
and it's
a lot of
interesting.
teams.
You brought up the Chargers. Let me ask you about the Chargers because you got no Mike Williams, you got no Keenan Allen, right? So you got to give your star quarterback. It's paramount, and I love like we talk about all the time, but you got to give him a weapon. And Neighbors is ridiculous. I mean, I know that's not Harbaugh's MO, and he's an O-line guy. But how do you not give your quarterback what he needs?
Well, I'm not sure how you do that. You could say you want to run the ball and you're going to emphasize the run, and they're going to do that. And they'll draft a running back. It wouldn't surprise me to see Blake Corum coming. But at the end of the day, what are you doing on 3rd and 13? What are you doing when it's 3rd down and 7 at the 7? Are you kicking a field goal or are you scoring a touchdown? And who are you throwing it to? So, like, you need receivers that can, A, beat man coverage, B, that are dangerous after the catch. Like, you just think about what San Francisco does with Debo and with Ayuk and with Kittle and how they just extend 8-yard catches into 20-yard gains. It happens all the time. So I do think that right tackle is in play. It has been a position of need for that team, and it would, but you can't get everything. But you better help your quarterback out, and you better give him a go-to guy. He just lost his go-to guy every day since he's been there in Keenan Allen. Like, he had his best year of his career last year. And you lose him, and you lose, Michael Williams to the Jets. To me, it's screaming wide receiver.
By the way, he's the best quarterback Harbaugh will have coached.
Yeah, by far. And so, you could go back to his San Francisco days, Michigan days. Like, he hasn't had a guy. I mean, I make everybody that is on the fence about Justin Herbert just go and watch that guy throw a football in pregame warmup and tell me you don't come away going, that's as good an arm talent as you're going to see that you've ever seen. I mean, he is a phenomenal talent.
All right, so we have Neighbors going 5. So now it's New England with Drake May, Marvin Jr. to Arizona, Neighbors to the Chargers. The Giants have to take JJ at 6, no?
If he's sitting there at 6, I feel like it's going to be hard for them to pass it up. I just can't believe that an organization that did not draft Daniel Jones, had one good year with him, had his 3rd major injury last year with the ACL after 2 major neck injuries. One knocked him out for the season. I find it hard to believe that Joe Shane, the general manager, Brian Dable, the head coach, isn't going to say, let's start giving ourselves some real quarterback insurance here, because they don't know when Daniel Jones is going to come back after that ACL tear and surgery. Like, I don't know when he's going to be ready. They don't know. And so you better start looking at the future if you want to have long-term tenure with the New York Giants. And to me, that's, if JJ is there, they don't have to lose any assets to go get him. I think that's what they're going to do.
You know what's interesting, too, because you have Minnesota, the Raiders. I mean, those teams need quarterbacks. You could make a case for Denver. I mean, like, you look at those, and then you look at Arizona and you go, does Arizona – I mean, you could get a lot of draft capital by moving that pick. Like, those quarterbacks.
You might. I think the fan base. Not that you want to always appease the fan base, but I think the fans, and I think Kyler Murray, are going. Let's just start this with Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Last year they traded back. Then they traded up and they took Paris Johnson Jr. He played every single snap at right tackle, and was a good player for him.
Yeah.
Well coached, good player, upgraded right tackle for him. Like sometimes you just got to hit solid doubles, and you just got to like try not to get too cute and too fancy. Just go get solid players and just keep building. I mean, if you think about the Arizona Cardinals, they came to Philadelphia in December and they whipped the Eagles. They beat the Dallas Cowboys early in the year. They went to Pittsburgh and whipped Pittsburgh. I mean, those are 3 playoff teams that they beat last year with a very limited roster.
No, I feel you. It's just interesting because you're right. The draft starts there, and Arizona and the Chargers are both going to be fielding a lot of calls. At 7, Joe Alt is a lock, right? It feels like he has to go 7.
Yeah, no, I think it's about they have made the change at general manager. They've made the change at head coach. All right, Brian Callahan brings in his father, to be the offensive line coach, run game coordinator. They're going to get better, but give Coach Callahan, give him Joe Alt to work with opposite Peter Skoronski from last year. Yeah. Let him start putting this offensive line together like Callahan's done from the day he came to Philadelphia in 1995 with Gruden and Sean Payton, all the guys that came here. Like he's been building offensive lines everywhere he's ever been. Give him a piece, like a massive technician that Joe Alt is, with what Skoronski showed last year, and you can start putting the pieces together to protect a Will Levis.
All right. What about the Falcons now at 8? Are you still where are you at with the Falcons?
Well, I feel like there's a curveball that can happen with Atlanta. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to go get Dallas Turner or Jared Verse. It's a position of need. The players are of that value. They're top 10 selections. But and maybe they do that. Maybe they just simply add to the defense. The defense at one point, before they collapsed at the end of the year, was a top 10 defense. And Jesse Bates was a big addition. And the 2 young linebackers, Landmark, they were good. I feel like this is where we could get a real curveball. And this here's why, cuz I feel like I know Arthur Blank really well.
Yeah.
I worked for the Falcons. I announced their preseason games for years. I was around them a lot. And the year I took over as the lead announcer for the Falcon preseason games, the year they brought in Mike Smith as a head coach, and they drafted Matt Ryan. And they went from 3-13, and they made the playoffs. They turned their team around in 1 year. Arthur Blank has never forgotten that. They've never been relevant since Matt Ryan started fading. They've tried a bunch of coaches. GMs are in there. And now they spent a lot of money on Kirk Cousins, and maybe that helps them win the division this year. But they still need a quarterback. And this might be the year to get it. You might just say, you know what? I don't know if Michael Penix, I think they're interested in Michael Penix. Maybe it's too rich at 8. Maybe they trade back. Maybe they trade back into the first round if he slips. And I'm just throwing Michael's name out there. But I feel like the Falcons, maybe not at 8, but either down the board or back into the first round late. I feel like they're in the quarterback market, and nobody's talking about it.
Spent all that money on Cousins.
This is, and look, Kirk Cousins got a boatload of money. I got it, but he's not. He's 35, coming off an Achilles injury. We don't know what that long term is going to look like for him.
Yeah.
We all hope that all these guys play as long as they can, but they still going to need a quarterback at some point.
No, you're right. I just think it's wild because you're in that spot and you spent all that money, and I think they want to try to win, right? Like they want to try to win now. So I like their defense. So that you had Verse there before. I think if I'm in that war room, I'm arguing for Verse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, he's a true 4-3 defensive end. He's got length. You look at Atlanta's defense right now, and Onyemata and Jarrett are solid inside, and they've got Ebiketie, who's a young player from Penn State. Looks like he's an ascending player, but they need a star off the edge. Now they have missed on a lot of defensive ends. In the last 15 years, they missed. And those players are they were run out of this league pretty quickly. But I feel like Jared Verse isn't a pumped up defensive end. I feel like his size and his what he showed at Florida State is kind of what first round defensive ends look like.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Then you had Turner, another guy I love, who just is got great ferocity off the edge, going to Chicago. You still feel that?
I do, except if Roma Dunze is there. If a Dunze is there, I still think that he could be in play. It could be one of those discussions where you just give Caleb all of the help that they could use. If Joe Alt was there for some reason, if Tennessee passed on him, and I don't think Atlanta or Chicago is going to, I think Chicago. If Joe Alt was there, that would be one of those discussions. Do we go defensive end opposite Montez Sweat and complete this defense that improved as much as any in the league last year? Do we go left tackle and say, okay, Braxton Jones has been a good player, but maybe we could get a great player at that position and give Caleb all the help up front he can use with 3 good running backs that they have on the roster? Or do we go, let's just give Caleb another young player that he can grow with when Keenan Allen retires or, whatever, DJ Moore fades, whatever might happen. Like, let's just get one more. Like, I think all those things could be in play. But ultimately, I think they take the defensive end.
Then you got your Jets, and Rome, you said, is in play there, obviously with Rodgers. You got some value there, too. You got the 2 best cornerbacks still on the board. You have all those linemen, too.
Jet fans would say, well, yeah, but we've got Sauce Gardner, we've got DJ Reed, and, we've got Michael Carter Jr. Like, we're set at corner. Okay, but what if you could get the best corner and go, all right, DJ Reed's our 3rd corner, and let's go put the best Terry and Arnold, whatever. Let's go put Arnold next to Sauce, and let's just make it with maybe the best pass rushing defensive line and maybe the best tandem of corners. You just make it hard to, throw touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just go, well, the number 1 ranked defense, there is. I'm not saying Joe Douglas isn't thinking like that at all, because you could go, if Rome was there, that makes sense for Aaron Rodgers. Like, okay, let's go Garrett Wilson, Michael Williams. We don't know when he's going to be ready. Let's get Roma Dunze. And if Aaron Rodgers plays a year, 2 years, we still got a receiving core of Garrett Williams, Roma Dunze, blah, blah, blah. Or you could go Brock Bowers. They've got a deep tight end room right now.
They have 4 tight ends.
They do. They have 4, as a matter of fact. And they like all 4 of them. But this is a player that you have to really account for in Brock Bowers, where if you build your offense around, when Minnesota really started building their offense a little bit around TJ Hawkinson, he became what looked like a guy that you could, say this is what a first round, top 10 tight end looks like. Some days he looks like that guy. But you have to feature that. I don't think it's a high priority, for them right now, because the roster right now at tight end is simply this: Tyler Conklin, Jeremy Ruckert, who is a year removed from plantar fasciitis, Kenny Yeboah, and Zach Kuntz, who they drafted last year. So they are 4 deep at that position right now.
You know what's interesting is the tight end spot, right? Like, if you have an elite tight end, you win. Chiefs, obviously. Niners, Kittle, right? Baltimore was interesting because Andrews gives away the likely. Both played huge parts in their offenses, right? You mentioned Detroit. Buffalo. Like, you go around the league, those tight ends. And Bowers is fascinating. He's an interesting prospect because he is elite. Like, he's a game changer on offense.
He's a game changer, and he's a much better blocker than anybody thinks he is. And he is very explosive after the catch, and he's a good route runner. His hands are sick. The one-handed catches at Georgia are crazy, how he adjusts to a ball. I don't know where he's going to go. The Jets might be the first landing spot for him.
How about the Colts?
Maybe he doesn't get past Denver if Denver just stays there at 12. Like, I think, after the 3 receivers go, I feel like he's going to be the next receiver tight end to go. I feel like he's going to be the 4th.
Colts are interesting for him.
Yeah, Colts, I think they're leaning towards defense right now. Like, I feel like Quinyon Mitchell, Terry and Arnold, I feel like that's a position that they really need to upgrade right now. They've got Juju Brents there, who was a second-round pick a couple years ago. But I think they need a starter, like a true number one corner opposite them.
All right, so this is important for the Eagles. Where does the run of offensive linemen start, right? Because you have all those linemen, and then you look at the Eagles, and a guy, it's funny. You and I talked about Steen last year. Everybody made a big deal. We talked about this morning with Bo, how Nick at the owners' meetings didn't put him in the mix for guard. He forgot his name. Now, it was early. You could say he forgot his name, but it appears they're very tepid with Steen.
I think they're looking to upgrade the position. Okay, so I think that's where they're at right now. They're going to have a center, Cam, taking over for that's already an adjustment, taking over for Kelsey. The run on tackles, I believe, outside of Joe Alt, who looks like he's going to go in the top 10, probably Tennessee. I feel like it's going to start with the Raiders at 13 because they have a huge need at right tackle. The New Orleans Saints, they already fired their offensive line coach, Doug Marrone, brought, new coach in. So I feel like the Raiders, New Orleans, Cincinnati, at 18, they need a right tackle the worst way. You got to keep Joe Burrow upright.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and then Pittsburgh and Miami are certainly in play at center for sure, and possibly tackle depending on what Terron Armstead does at Miami. So Philly's picking 22, but you're saying the run to me starts Raiders, New Orleans, Cincy, Pittsburgh, Miami, Philly. Like I feel like there's a deep run on tackles, and maybe because there's a couple elite centers that could go in that mix as well.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's why you got to believe that Howie's got to trade up to get one of those guys.
They've got picks 50 and 53. I feel like if they want to get, like, let's just say Taliesin Fuaga. Let's just say Fuaga falls below New Orleans. Say New Orleans doesn't think he'd play left tackle. And the Raiders say they take J.C. Latham. And Fuaga's in play. And Cincinnati's there at 18. Maybe there's a trade there with Jacksonville or Seattle, to go get Fuaga. Because I think he's going to be – it won't surprise me if 2 years from now he's the best tackle in this draft. It just won't surprise me.
Yeah, but I agree with you. There's people are calling on him. I don't understand that. You're spot on. You loved him. I agree. It's the same thing you do.
Well, I think he also could play right guard. And I think, at 335 pounds.
He's a grader, man.
You plug him next to Lane Johnson, I think Lane would be thrilled.
Yeah.
I think Ian Jurgens would love it. He's an undersized center. And they would get back to, that huge, just that big, strong offensive line. Just keep it big and strong. You got Saquon back there. Go get yourself as good a run blocker as in this whole draft. You play him at right guard. You get value for him right away. And if something happens at the tackle position down the road, you move him out to tackle. But I think, that's where I think Howie, and I'm not, it might be Fatano, if he starts to drop, but maybe you could get him at 22.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a player like Fuaga, and probably more than Olu Fashanu, probably more than him, that the Eagles would be most interested in. Because I think Fashanu is clearly just a tackle. But Fuaga looks like he could be just a monster offensive guard. And I think you could put him in there. And so could Howie trade up and use one of those picks that he has? I think it's possible.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, brother, listen. What's on tap for you today? Do the Sixers win tomorrow night? And then we'll convene on Friday. But what are you doing today?
It's just all football. I'm literally looking at some of these smaller school guys right now. Just like this kid Jalix Hunt from Houston Christian, right? Looks like he's got some juice to him, cuz he looks like a fifth or sixth round pick to me, with an upside to him, with the right coach and right system. So, anyways, looking at those guys, we've got a bunch of draft shows coming up starting tomorrow, so I'm just getting myself prepared for all of it.
I love it. I love your sleepers.
The Sixers beat the Bulls. I think that they're going
It's
to be
Miami. Just FYI, it's
Okay.
Miami tomorrow night.
Okay.
You're down there. Like, so, you could go represent the Sixers at a bar when they're watching it, when everybody's all heated up.
I could crash that party, cuz. That's possible.
Yes.
Real possibility, yes.
Baldy. I love it. Brother,
Thanks, man.
You're the greatest. We love you. See you Friday.
Okay, you got it, cuz. Take care.
There he is, the one, the only, Baldy. I could do that all day. That draft, oh my God. I'm such a loser, man. I love this stuff. Houston Christian. Oh, yeah, come on, JP. Are you kidding me? Got all my papers. People go, get your papers out of here. What are you doing? All right, let me tell you about TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Boy, do we love the TrueMark Financial Credit Union. They're local. Kelly Baldi, she's the CEO of TrueMark Financial Credit Union, and she's a draftnik. That's why I love her. Like she could watch tape. Like she understands that. She loves it. She's a huge Eagles fan, the whole thing. And that's why I tell you about TrueMark Financial Credit Union all the time, because they are local and they care about being local. That's right. They're headquartered in Fort Washington, right near the Bro. Bro goes, I drive by it every day. 24 branches in the Philadelphia area. They serve our community and our people right here at home. Hey, by the way, I just figured this out. I just learned all about the credit union difference. When you're with TrueMark Financial Credit Union, you become part owner. And that means profits come back to you instead of going to the shareholders. You get better rates than a bank, lower fees, a better return on savings, more flexible options. And people think, well, credit union, bank, difference, what about, I'm sure banking has all the digital tools. So does the credit union, and so does TrueMark Financial Credit Union. All the digital tools and all the tech, right, that makes our lives easier, you get it right there with TrueMark. So check it out and all the benefits, man. There's lots of it. Head over to TrueMark.com/PHLY to learn more, to find a branch near you. That's TrueMark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA. And also, the Anthony Gargano Show brought to you by Primo Hogies. We're entering the fun season, springtime. So you have all kinds of gatherings, from Little League Baseball to proms to graduation parties to backyard stuff, gatherings. Well, make everybody smile with the array of Primo Hogies. The Primo party trays. They're the perfect, the little bite-sized Primo goodness, right? You whack up the hoagie and everybody has a toothpick and people go nuts. They love it. Oh, what's this? Is this turkey? Oh, is this Italian? Right? They love it. I know Andrew loves it. Yeah, and you take the toothpick out and you got a nice thing, and people got all the slivers of the Primo Hogies. The best. It's a party. That's why Primo's is the greatest. Whether it's you're watching a game, like tomorrow night, you want to sit down with a couple Primos, your buddies, whack them up. They have everything you want, from the chicken whacked to the Italian Diablos, all the Diablos, to the old world stuff. They have it, everything. Meatballs. Anthony loves the meatballs. He goes, and he's finicky about his meatballs. So he loves, because he only eats mine or his mother's or Primo's. That's it. So you love it. Become a Primo Rewards member. Get $2 off Primo size hoagies every Wednesday. All right? Listen, you know the bread. You know how they do it. They make it with love. Just go to PrimoHogies.com to cater your party. There's over 90 locations across the Delaware Valley. And, of course, you'll say what I always said. It's not just a hoagie. It's a Primo. JP, Primo.
I love it.
All right, we'll come back because it's Clubhouse next. VGJP. We'll talk monsters, boogeymen, people who have frightened us in the past. Best and worst of the weekend, which we never got to yesterday, as well as last night. All on tap. Stay with us. The Anthony Gargano Show right here on All PHLY. Welcome back. It's Cousins Clubhouse. VG.
Yo.
JP.
What's going on, guys?
They're the guys as we hang out. And VG will give us some of our comments of all our people. So you want to join the show. We're going to be instituting phone calls at some point shortly. That's in the works. But we have some breaking news. Giannis. So the Greek Freak ruled out in the first round, Milwaukee, Indiana. Now, Indiana is already a problem.
Yep.
They're a problem for Milwaukee. They beat them. They had success against Milwaukee. There is an issue there, right? Because Indiana doesn't, like Milwaukee doesn't play defense, and Indiana's about pace. So that game, especially without Giannis, man, to keep up.
Well, Legler warned us last week. He said that the Pacers were a sneaky, scary team to look out for.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Leg day.
I'm
coming soon.
Yeah.
I'm smelling that upset.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You smell it?
No, I smell that.
No Giannis, man. Doc is
too.
just bad luck, right?
He's like the anti-boogeyman, right?
Yeah, Doc's like the mush, right? Put him in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Doc is a mush. He goes to Milwaukee to get worse, and then they lose Giannis.
The record of
He comes here, and it was just one bad. The minute he gets here, Ben Simmons was out.
Dude, the record of the coach they fired and then Doc's record there, it's
insane.
It's insane, stupid. I don't even understand what they were doing.
Carlisle's going to outcoach him easily in this one.
I'm a Carlisle fan.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
He's
He's
a good
great.
coach.
It's a really weird playoff system, this play-in game, because it's almost like the winner, good chance of going to the conference finals. The loser match up against the Celtics most likely. So
I
this
know.
game tomorrow is
Tomorrow's
massive.
huge.
It's a massive. And I got the like the butterflies. Like I started the show talking about it.
Yeah.
Like they're flapping, right? Like it's big game. This is what we live for all of it.
Yeah.
The big game, like that whole vibe. So let's start off with who are you afraid of? Like historically, I brought up Tampa Bay. Like if God forbid, I see those uniforms, that freaking helmet. I freaking hate Tampa. It goes back to Rondé Barber, but you can go back to Nick's first year, last year, freaking Buccaneers.
Joe Jaravicious still running.
Yeah,
right?
I was about to say that. Jaravicious, man. Oh, my God.
I think I just saw
And
him
that
run
goes
down Lake
back.
Street.
So that goes back full circle to Trot because they didn't have Trot.
Good point. That's a good point.
They were missing Trotter.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, who scares you? I'll start with you.
All right, I know VG is going to give us a creative one, so I'm going to go with the easy one. Just the Boston Celtics as a whole. I mean, in the playoffs, I mean, you talked about Larry Bird yesterday. Right now, we're going with Jason Tatum, but I mean, I hate them because, like, I hate the Boston Celtics.
Good man. I love you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
I hate the Celtics.
I'm proud of you.
And, like, every time we see them in the playoffs, I get like, oh, my God. But, like, obviously, we'll wait for it to happen this year. But, man, the Boston, the past couple of years, it's been rough. Even, like, the year where we beat the Bulls and then we match up with the Boston Celtics, we take them to Game 7. And, you know, young me, I'm like, we're taking the Celtics in 7. And, unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Well, last year, I mean, it was just horrible. Like, if you just, like, live through the Boston stuff, they're by far, like, the Eagles, you can make the case, they own the Cowboys.
Right.
For the last 20 years, there was that one loss in Dallas where there was like Donovan's swan song, the young receivers. But in reality, the Eagles, they own Dallas.
Well, that's the whole thing. There's the younger generation. They think the Giants are more of a rival.
Right.
But we could do 3 shows on hate the face and Boston Celtics people we just hate. Going back to like the 60s with Tommy Heinsohn. Right?
No, dude, I wrote a list of the hates.
It's insane.
Yeah, like the
Jersey.
Oh my God, I gotta add Derek White now.
Yeah.
And Porzingis.
Oh,
The
God.
Boston people, just everything.
Drew Holiday. Yes.
I will say, I'm less fearful because one of my boogeymen is not around. Marcus Smart. That guy's a Sixer killer, it always felt like.
Yeah, but they're better.
We'll see.
Well,
A lot of pressure on them this year.
Yeah, you know, they are.
Get a
Young
little
coach.
A little tight.
Yeah, young coach. Listen, we're already talking about that. Let's not do that. But who is any sport? Is there particularly athletes that you fear? Like Jimmy, That son of a.
Like now, I don't know. I'm kind of weird for me as I'm anxiety prone. I don't really have a lot of current boogeymen.
You don't see any boogeymen out there?
I mean, the Marlins are always annoying. There's annoying people.
Yes.
But like, remember like, was it Scott Stevens?
Oh,
Devils. He was like,
why'd you bring up that memory?
By the way, I mean, the Penguins.
yeah, the Penguins for sure. So you mentioned them earlier. Sid the Kid. They're just, they're a total boogeyman.
We had 2012 to kind of.
Exactly.
Horford's kind of a boogeyman.
Oh, dude.
Right?
Horford.
Oh, 100%.
So's Anna.
Yeah.
Oh, I never
sister.
told you this story. So, you know me, I'm super proud of being Latino. So when Al Horford came here, guess who got his jersey? This idiot right here. So now it's somewhere in my closet, like on the ground or somewhere. So I have to burn that probably now. But yeah, that Al Horford. Oh, I hate that guy too.
Yeah.
You got the Sixers Horford jersey?
Oh, yeah.
Sixers Horford jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have to do a ceremony with that, if we get the matchup with them.
Can we burn stuff on the roof?
Yeah,
why not?
yeah.
Right?
We could do-
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
who's
true.
paying attention?
Yeah.
There's no paper towels for a couple of days. No one's paying attention here. Burn stuff on the roof.
All right, I'm good. I'm down with that one. This portion of the program is brought to you by the Bet Park Sportsbook app. Is how you do it. The Bet Park Sportsbook app. All right, let us go back because we didn't get a chance to do this yesterday. So I want to hit you with the best and worst, and you could add last night and the weekend to it. So JP.
All right, I'm going to go with the best. So, cause one thing I don't like that we do in the city, when players don't work out here, like we just kill them once they leave. And like especially like the player I'm about to talk about, it really wasn't his fault, but Shane Gostisbehere. So obviously we're
The ghost.
We're talking about, the Flyers making the playoffs. We need some help from
I want to see what you guys think about that a little bit.
Yeah. We're hoping that we get some help from the Penguins and the Detroit Red Wings. Ghost has really stepped up in a big way for the Red Wings as they try to keep their playoff hopes alive. And so, like, listen, it didn't work out here. We gave him up for literally nothing, but it is cool to see Shane kind of finding his way for a team that's fighting for the playoffs.
So this is interesting. God bless you. See, the new generation, right?
Thinking the same
Yeah,
exact
the
thing.
new generation, so kind-hearted. Like I'm like, screw him. He's playing for the Red Wings. I love that about you. Like that is a awesome, beautiful feeling notion that you have. The minute they leave here,
Oh yeah.
hey,
I mean,
exactly.
If they play, if they play each
unless it's
other,
someone that is beloved and earned their stripes here. If you leave, like I'm not rooting for you. People go, "Wow, would you like to root for?" I'd like to see them get a ring. No, why? Like, if I'm not getting a ring, I don't want them to get a ring. Yeah, it's horrible and petty and the whole thing. The only one I rooted for to get a ring was Barkley.
yeah.
I mean, I feel the same way, but it gives me hope for the future.
I know.
This is a kinder, gentler, better world than our generation.
No, I mean, it's a creep move.
Yeah.
Rooting against a guy, but I'm sorry. Like,
Chase Utley.
like the ghost.
Yeah, I want to see Chase win in the
No,
Dodgers.
I didn't want to see Chase win another way. Like, like Barkley deserved it, I thought. In a sense.
Yeah,
so I was like, all right. And I'm like,
I'm not going to party if Barkley won with the Suns.
but I would be like, all right.
Yeah.
Andy Reid was that one for me.
Yes.
To see him get the first one, just because I hate the 49ers anyway, just see them win.
Well, I was like that too. Now, Andy, I was different because I had a close relationship with him.
Yeah.
So they kind of
him and Spags.
But my
The second and third one, I'm out.
Yeah. Like my
Especially that second one.
Cousin Joe was like, nah. Like, no. If they leave you, he sticks to that rule. If you leave here, I don't want to see you win.
You're dead to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him win, but I'm just happy like he's found a path in his career because it was looking
The
bad.
fact that you're happy for Gostisbehere is unbelievable.
Before he goes.
Yeah.
But when you play us, I'm booing you. Just know that. But once we're done.
Like, the fact that you even think about Gostisbehere is impressive to me.
Ghost had like a little bit of a cult following here too. I wasn't a part of that, but I listened
you
again.
sure? It sounds like you might have been
I got the emoji hoodie back. No, I'm just kidding.
You're like, he's Casper.
Sounds like he's got a Ghost jersey in the closet.
JP's Casper. Sweet, nice ghost.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
You're the Casper, cuz. You're the Casper.
all good energy.
JP, the friendly
Always.
ghost.
Yeah,
You are. You're
great,
awesome.
Great vibes.
Yeah. All right.
My best, celebrating the final regular season game of the Tobias Harris era in Philadelphia it made my weekend, and I'm still giddy over this. This guy, $248 million he's made in the NBA, 0 All-Star appearances. If you look him up at Wikipedia, there's a little section under every player that has highlights, and almost every professional player has some highlight they mention. He has a 0 as a professional athlete. They're all high school Mr. Basketball of Florida? I don't know. And his SEC scoring and honors. 0 professional highlights. And this guy has been
Dude, I brought it
$248
up
million.
to start the show. When you went through Process Past, it's unbelievable when you think about it, right? Unbelievable when you think about that Jimmy, and it was all Brett Brown, and it was just,
You started out like that, and Dev Miliano on the text board was like, "Man, hearing this history is really brutal to sit through."
But we have to go through it to it gives us perspective as to what tomorrow brings.
You need to know history so you don't repeat that history.
But his story is fantastical.
Sets up.
Like, it really is fantastical.
It's like, but it's
like you can't make it up. I'm not
like
saying
living
fantastic
through
in a good
watching
way.
like a sad movie, and it's going to make you cry. It's just,
but the events are they're so out there. It's borderline fiction.
Golly, VG, I hope Tobias has a good career after here.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to make an all-star game out of Detroit next year.
He's
going to be happy.
I'll never forget, like, the minute Jimmy said, they pivot, and Tobias is sitting there, and they go, well, we'll have Tobias. And then he raked them through the coals.
Yeah, I mean, they were screwed at that point. They could not let Tobias walk.
And they had to overpay him. And he's one of the nicest guys. He's JP
He is
nice.
nice. I do actually. I've been to a march and seen Tobias Harris on a march, like a protest march, years ago.
He's a great dude.
Nice guy.
He really is. But
I
was
can't
talking
wait
to
to
the
see
Ace
him
Man today. And the Ace Man goes, Oubre. It's all about Oubre as your third guy. Think about that.
Oubre.
The guy that made $246 million is like your afterthought.
Right. And what's Oubre making? $6 million on a 1-year deal?
Right, exactly. But that's the truth.
I don't even understand how he came so cheap. He averaged 22 points last year.
Well, that's Charlotte's team. Like that.
He was a late signing too.
Yeah.
Like he was hanging around for a little bit.
Wow.
I think that they give you fleas. Like Rozier.
Yeah.
In Miami. Like that was a good signing for them.
That franchise, they need some voodoo, like something.
Yeah, they're
horrible. It's been a mess.
Yeah, well,
that's a good Morey move. That's a good eel move.
It was an eel move. I agree. All right, worst of the last couple days.
I'm gonna go with VG's boy, Johan Rojas. So not from his play on the field, but because obviously big one, right? Cristian Pache with that walk off there. So here comes Johan Rojas celebrating with the rest of his teammates. My man picks up a freaking injury in the celebration. How do you do that, Johan? So I'm going Johan with my worst.
All right. How about you, VG?
Mine's a little personal. I got stuck. I work with some youth basketball, and I got stuck having to referee as a fill-in. And refereeing
Any Karens?
is the worst.
No, it's thankless.
It's the worst.
It is the worst.
Yeah, it stuck with me. I was nervous going into it. I was miserable during it. Afterwards, I just wanted to put my hoodie up and run out of the building. So just to all the parents out there, just ease up on you.
So you're in my wheelhouse, right?
Yes.
Yo Kid Sports, I do the whole thing.
Yes.
Right? I coach 5th grade basketball, right? Soon to be 6th grade basketball next year.
You ride in the rough. There's a travel. 3 seconds. 3 seconds.
It's awful. I mean, you get caught up. The problem is for the coaches is you get caught up in the moment. Now, especially when you're dealing with 4th, 5th, a little 6th.
Yeah. I was doing 12 and unders.
Like when you're doing that age, you want to teach in the game, right? So you want to you don't want to call you could call travel almost all the time, right?
Yes.
You could do that all the time. There was a kid we played who actually was pretty good, but he had a Euro step. And it's dude, you can't be taking 3 steps. And the ref, I agree with him. Now, it was the opponent, so I liked it. But I agree with him. The fact is, you can't do that.
And you can tell.
Even my kid, Moss, had a habit of carrying the basketball. And he would carry it. I'm like, dude, he's right. And the official went on a roll, called him 3 times for palming, for carrying the ball. And they're like, dude, I told him, he got upset. I'm like, dude, hand on top of the basketball.
Yeah.
Like until you grow into the game, then you could do that.
That's a tough one because you see the NBA and that's they're doing it the entire
I
game.
know, but,
so
but you're
hard
not.
for
When you're in, 5th grade, 4th grade, hand on top of the ball.
All these kids want the handles. All these kids want to shoot those threes.
But that's a
different.
carry. Like
Yeah.
you can't carry the
Yeah.
ball. But you're right about like youth referees, youth umpires. I mean, forget about balls and strikes. Like people go nuts. And
I couldn't even imagine calling balls.
dude, and you're like, here's the thing. Like if you're calling youth, like mine plays 11U, right?
Mhm.
So if you're doing 11U, you don't want to have a tight strike zone, right? Right. So you want to teach them to hack because you don't want to walk fast, but it is miserable and thankless, and it's bad. And then you get caught up as a coach or even a parent, like you're caught up in the game.
Mhm.
So perspective, like you have to take a time and do a 5-second thing to realize, oh, wait, I'm at a kid's game, so I got to just chill out.
Yeah.
Because, you're in a game and you miss a travel call and it's costing me, dude, like, Mr. Ref.
But I'm even okay. Like the coaches are one thing. The whole
the parents
all
are
the
nasty.
parents. There's like
Yeah,
60 people just
Yeah.
screaming at us.
Yeah, like that's
so no matter
nasty.
what sport it is, be kind to the youth officials
Amen.
out there.
All right, tonight, Flyers.
Fly guys, big one.
So
big.
first, you got to beat Washington in regulation. And
For sure.
if anything, if you get the gift in the playoffs, that's freaking awesome. But guys, I don't know if you agree or not. It propels you to next season.
Yeah.
There's like forward momentum that comes with a win tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what happens with the Red Wings game. Doesn't matter what happens with the Penguins game. You have to take care of business here. Like you said, it's that momentum bridge for that next season. Hopefully, we talk to Jonesy, we get some more talent in here, more young pieces as well. So it's about building that culture, and that's what this season was all about. And it ends here.
Yeah, it's a must-win game. So these kids to actually come through and win a must-win game would be good for them going forward.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you get lucky and
Yeah.
Who knows?
Once you're in,
right?
you're in. Yeah.
It's 2010. Our 2010 moment is the back in the day moment, brought to you by Rite Aid. Get all your favorite goods and all your pharmacy needs at your local Rite Aid store. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's a must win. We got NBA tonight, so we'll be watching that.
yeah.
And Fightins and Ranger. Ranger, I look forward to Ranger Day.
Oh, God, yeah.
He's like Chooch. He's such a likable, lovable
Yes,
guy.
I agree.
He has such this calmness out there.
Yeah, I love Ranger
And
Day.
hey, I know a lot of people are stressing. The Phillies are 9-8. And that's their best 17 game start in 5 years. So, let's go. Like things are looking up. We got pitching.
World
may
Series,
not-
baby.
All right, here's the question. Will they be at 500 for the rest of the season again?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe this week gives them a few games cushion. Yes.
Well, my point is, they will never be at 500 again.
That's what I'm saying. Because they should be 12-9 at the end of this
Right,
week.
right.
So yeah, I think that
I'm
cushion,
thinking the same
that
thing.
cushion gives them enough. So
Right.
stumble here
So
and
this
there.
is it.
This is it.
No more 500
None.
rest of the year.
No sub 500 after this.
I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that.
Andrew, same thing?
I'm on that. Yeah.
All right, you're good?
I'm
You go
good.
no 500?
Yeah, I feel good about that.
I mean,
yeah.
is there an asterisk barring injuries
No,
to
no,
Wheeler
no.
or Nola?
No, because at some point, like, you can't be at 500.
Yeah, I'm good.
You got to be better than
Yeah.
500 the rest of the season.
Onward and
Especially
upward.
especially when it warms up. Agreed.
Yeah.
So from here on out, no more 500.
No more.
Nothing.
No more.
I don't even know what that means.
Exactly. Wipe the hands clean. We're good. We're going. This train is moving.
All right, I like that, Andrew. Did you like that picture of Baldy?
Yeah,
Nice
I-
job, Andrew Frazier.
Yeah.
Getting that up there.
I added that to the end, so we're good to go for Friday. It's already
Okay.
done. Baldy's new pictures in there. He looks fantastic.
He looked like Jose Canseco.
He did. I didn't think it was him at first.
That was good.
But Piazza. Could you imagine? He mentioned 465.
That's
Oh, my
insane.
God. That's the ultimate beat.
Yeah,
That was wild.
Yeah.
To bench that much. Oh my
Dawood in the
God.
chat room said Baldy was benching 2 bulls and 3 goats.
Dawood! My man. Yo for Dawood. Any other comments?
Yeah, we got some good ones. JH says, nice to see JP rocking the Jersey.
Yeah. I like that.
Jersey. There was a lot of love for Brad's double XL representation. Big guys out there like that. This guy sounds like no fun. Thanks for chiming in, Steve Cummings, but Flyers are done after last night's game. Can we just have some fun with tonight?
I mean, I look, I know it's going to change something.
Just have a little fun.
Yeah.
And K Red wants to know, can Rite Aid cure my existential dread? I believe they probably do have something
They
for
gotta
that.
have something for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If not, then there's a dispensary that could probably that can help with that ailment.
Yeah, for sure. I know some people.
I know you do. All right.
That's awesome.
Final thoughts. So tonight, big sports night.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have the NBA playoff start,
That's right.
Flyers, and then Phillies.
Yeah, obviously, listen, guys, big one for the Flyers. Come hang out with me and Bill. We'll be doing the watch along here for PHLY Flyers. We'll be here for the entire game, post-game show as well. Charlie will be popping in post-game as well. So it's a big one, so come hang out with us.
You'll be at the bar tonight?
I will be. Yeah.
You're pubbing it?
Yeah, I'm drinking the NA
At your
beer.
pub?
I'm drinking the NA beers during the
Chill.
week right now. The Athletic every now and then. I do
The
the NA beers.
non-alcoholic beers. Huh?
Yeah, the Guinness
Wow.
is a good one. There's some good ones
Really?
out there. Yeah.
But Guinness is low in alcohol anyway.
I know, but I'm old. I got to get up early these days with this show.
All right, everybody.
good.
I got the Little League tonight. So, and then I'll get back.
No
and
yelling
watch
at the
my
refs,
sports.
cuz.
Yeah, chill.
No,
on the
no,
refs.
I'm good. No, it's good. The Little League is fine. Listen, that's going to do it for us. Keep it right here, all PHLY for all the shows. All right. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody. We love you. All right. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the morning.
We all silly like the mayor.